Hi guys, how are you all today? I hope everybody's doing well. Say hi, tell everybody where you're from. You never know, your neighbor might be digitizing or computing next to you, as well as sewing and embroidering. So good to see you guys here. Hey Kelly, hey Shirley, hey Terry. The gang's rolling in. Well, good to see you all. Um, didn't have a lot of questions this week, but what I did have were some interesting ones. And I thought I would revisit what happened last week with the engraving lines. I had I had a brain mess. It just did not compute with me last week. But you can't engrave a line into an outline. So in order for that outline to be engraved, it would have had to been converted to stitches and then converted to blocks. Or you could create a heart within a heart and basically turn that into a satin stitch that went with auto direction on it and then engrave that. But it would not work the way we were trying to make it work because you can't engrave a line because a line it's seeing them both as a line. So it has no clue as to what to do. So that is what I was doing wrong last week when I was trying to do that little applique. And, hey, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to jiggle everything there. I am one of those people that can't sit with their feet on the floor. My feet have to be tucked up underneath me. So I had to move my foot up underneath me when I sat down. Your snow and ice is melting. The sandhill cranes have already arrived. Well, there you go. I am glad that we are in the 60s today. I think it's a lovely week. It's a sneak preview of spring here in the first day of March. It seems so crazy that it's already March though. I can't believe this. The year is flying as always. You never know. I mean, it'll be summer before we know it. So I hate to wish away the spring because I love spring. It is one of my favorite times of the year. But we still haven't gotten nothing's blooming here yet. So I anticipate that within the next couple of weeks. All right, guys. Today, let's talk about the jumbo frame first, because that was the first question that came in. And then we'll play around with some other stuff. But jumbo frame is first. So what do we do with the jumbo frame? Well, it's actually very, very simple. You can do it in BES4 or in PE-DESIGN. I'm going to tell you, if you have both programs, I personally would rather split the design in PE-DESIGN because I think it does a better job. BES does okay, but I think it's much more precise with PE-DESIGN. So having said that, I'm going to show you both methods. And it's simply a matter of setting up the hoop and putting your design in it. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to use one of the built-ins. You can create your own and go from there. So let me go and share my screen here. And we want to go to this so you all can see it. Your azaleas are already blooming. Wow, that's impressive. So, all right. How do we set up for the jumbo frame? You're going to go, we're in PE-DESIGN 11 here. And this function works the same whether it's in PE-DESIGN Next, 10, or 11. Okay. Next is 9. Then you've got 10. Next is technically is 9. 10 comes after that, and 11 is our most current. But we're going to click on our hoop here, and it would be your design settings in any of the other versions. And you want to select the PR hoop. So if you don't have a PR, this is not going to appeal to you, but it was a question that was asked. So, I kind of like to go show everybody what they need to know. When you click on the drop-down menu for the PR, you'll see that all of the hoops for the PR are listed. And right here is your jumbo frame. Doesn't matter whether you've got inches or metric selected for this activity. It's going to say jumbo frame next to it. It is the 360 by 360 or 14 by 14 inch hoop is what they technically call it. Okay. Let's go ahead and touch OK. And you'll notice you have a design, a white square in the middle, and then you have these dashed lines. The dashed lines represent the two halves of the embroidery. So what happens with this particular activity is that you'll put the hoop in because it is a split hoop technically. Put the hoop in and you embroider the first half. It will tell you to place your snowman down, and it'll show you where to place it, and you'll follow the instructions. You'll place it, and you'll be looking at your screen at the same time to make sure that your snowman gets in the correct position. That's after the first one. It will prompt you on your machine how to do this. Once you've done that, it will read your snowman and it'll tell you to rotate your hoop. You rotate the hoop, you pick up the part number 2. You may actually pick up part number 2 before you do this. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it will walk you through the exact steps on the machine. It will read that snowman positioning again, and it will align your design exactly where it needs to be. So that is it. That's what you would do. But if you wanted to do, let's say we wanted to do large text here. PE-Design does not give you that error message when you do large text that you've exceeded the satin stitch width. It's never going to give you that. It doesn't drop the stitches like it does in BES4. But let's say we want to just put in here USA. And we make this big. But it does have to stay within the white space because it does have to have wiggle room. I'm going to pop this up to the top, and I'm just going to put some stars down at the bottom. I'll overlap them over the top of this just so you all can see. Let's pick a different star than that. I'll overlap it so you can see how it's going to split. You don't have to worry about one's in one half, the other's in the other half. I'm just basically filling up my hoop here. This is not how I would technically make the design, but if you want to know how it's going to, what's going to happen, this is what it's going to show you how it happens. They have to stay inside the hoop though. So obviously I would want to remove overlaps and do a few things like that. I'm not going to necessarily mess with that right now. I just want you to know how to set up the hoop. Let's make this a little bit smaller. That'll work. When you're ready to send it to your design, all you have to do is go up to the send button, or if you're in a different version, you would have to go save as, and we can say send to machine, and I can tell it I want it to send to Emma because Emma is my multi-needle. Oh, please change. It tells me that, oops, guess what? You've got something outside of the active area. And that one's outside slightly as well. So we want to make sure we're inside it. Now let's try it again. One other thing that I would tell you is this lettering is huge. I would change it from a satin stitch to either a fill stitch or a programmable fill, just to keep that from having that issue of too long of a satin stitch. Now let's go back to our home tab and go send to network machine. So it is not liking me. Oh, the bottom star. Y'all are not keeping me on it today. My bottom star is outside of my area. Let's try it again. I say this is so easy, but there we go. Now, the biggest thing is you have to keep everything inside the hoop. Now, when I go to my machine, I can just retrieve it. You'll see the entire design at the top on your thumbnail. When you go to wirelessly retrieve, you'll see that whole thumbnail. When you touch it, it will have split the design into 2 halves. You select the first half, stitch it out, use your snowman, and then follow the prompts on screen to stitch the second half. Okay. And that, I mean, that's all you have to do. Basically, make sure it fits in that hoop. If it tells you to change the region or position, resize it slightly. You may want to move it up or down a little bit in the hoop, depending on if you continue to get that message. But that's really all you have to do. Now, in BES4, it is a slightly different process, but pretty much the same. So let's go to BES4 for this one. I have a new page, but let's go home and select the hoop. So hoop, select hoop, and you want to check the multi-needle button again. So if you scroll down through here, we should see our jumbo. Actually, it's the very first one on the list, jumbo frame. Click OK. Now, if you're adding text in here, let's do the same thing, USA. And I'm going to make this a different stitch so we don't have to worry about that message that will appear when I make it big. But I do have to make it to where it's going to fit in the hoop. Now, let's say I just wanted this one big old USA. I've got it set. I'm good to go. That's weird. Evidently, when you stretch that text, it's not the best option. Let's take off chunk and change it to something else. Let's see what blocks does. And I'm just resizing it, and I could do hoop fit to hoop. I mean, that actually is going to maximize your space. I usually like to give these just a little bit of wiggle room in BES4, so I might squeeze it in just a hair's breadth more, just so that it has that wiggle room. Now, if your card is in your machine, you can, and it's been set up, you can go to the application button, the pace setter button, and choose machine. Let's see here, send to machine. And now down here where it says save as type, this is really important. Auto split for PES version 9. So that baby lock, or the brother baby lock auto split, that's what you want to select, and we'll say USA and send. And you would retrieve it in the same exact manner. Okay, and it's going to take mine a minute to ping it and go. Hopefully I'm still signed in correctly. And send us machine is successful. We'll click OK, and you could go do that. We could have added designs in here as well. So if you want to come in and add you some accents or whatever you want to add, it doesn't really matter. Let's say we wanted balloons on our USA. It's going to work in the same manner. Just file, machine, send to machine. I'm going to do it one more time down here at the very bottom. Brother Baby Lock Auto Split version 9. Send it. Let me name it USA 2, because I have no idea if I need that other one. And it's going to send it to my machine. Okay. So Tammy, that is the answer to your question on how to actually split the design. Just set it up and go for it. My send to machine is done and we're ready to go. So let me see here. Tracy, yes, you do not have to have a scan and cut to use Canvas Workspace. Just sign up for Canvas Workspace. It's a free program. You don't have, when it says register a machine, it really doesn't matter. You don't have to have a machine to use it. You can use it regardless. Okay. So that's all you have to do for that one. Got to switch to the other leg. Sorry. All right, what was my next thing that I have to do? Multi-position hoop. So Tammy, that one's slightly different. The multi-position hoop, you have to do in a slightly different manner. So, and that is in PE-DESIGN only. Okay, so let me show you that one before I move on. Okay. So when you go into your hoops, the multi-position hoops will be under the flatbed single needle machines here. So you want to put a dot in front of the flatbed single needle machine. Those split hoops are down here and they have asterisks in front of them. So the split one for the 5x7 is the 130 by 300. Okay. When you touch OK, you'll notice that it has 3 segments. One is red dashed line, one's a green, and one's a blue. If it is something that you did not create yourself, then you need, let's say I do text across here. If I say Tennessee, oops, let's say I type in Tennessee here, and I rotate that home. Let's do here, rotate right 90 degrees. Now I'm going to make it big. So this design right here, it would split for me. It may tell me I need to change the region so position when I save it, but it should split it. So let's see what happens when I say send. You would do a file save as on your machine. So you would do a file save as, and you can save it in any version, but let's see here, PC. And I'm going to put this in my Facebook Live file so you can see what happens. Facebook Live. All right, we'll touch save. Now, when you get to your machine, it will have brought that up in 3 sections because it doesn't mind. But if you have things that are overlapping sections, for instance, let's say we have this right in the center. We're going to ignore the fact that the Tennessee's underneath it, okay? You will probably get an error message. It's been a while since I've played with this, but we're just going to say save. We're going to say yes, have it replace it. Actually, it would split that one. What happened? No, because that fits in a single hoop. So let's make it bigger to where it doesn't fit in a single hoop. And do a save as. Let's see if it's going to save it for me. So do you see where it says, please change the object size or position, or do I want to save it anyway? So that is telling me that I have a section that is going all the way across that cannot be split, okay? So for anything besides text, each of your elements has to fit within one of the rectangles. That doesn't mean I can't have this here and this here. I could also put one down here because each of those individually would fit within one of those rectangles. But as a whole, if I had just had one straight across it, it would not do it. Does that make sense? So every design that you put in there, every element that you put in there has to fit in one of those squares unless it's text that you've typed in. I'll bring in a few other little things here. Let's see. Let me select all here. So if I go into my import menu and let's say I brought in this design right here. I'm going to shrink it down to where it will fit in this hoop because this is one that I've created. And there we go. That'll work. So we're going to plop it there in the middle. And I'll do Control M to move it to the middle. There we go. Now let's try saving this one. And we'll call this deck. And it's telling me I need to change the object size or position. Do I want to save it anyway? No, I don't, because what it's telling me is that decorative fill that I have going around there and that long tail there for the halls. So let me zoom in and show you what I'm talking about. This right here is longer than one hoop when you do that entire section with the snowflake on the bottom of it, the star on the bottom of it. So that would not work, okay? So each element must fit within one of those 5x7 frames, okay? Now, how do I map 3-letter monograms on a purchase vendor? I don't. I import those one at a time. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you because you would have to remember what keystroke you put for the center letters versus the side letters versus the whatever. For me, it's much easier just to import those letters one at a time and space them out. So that is my personal preference. I have not found a good way around it because it requires special characters. And there's just not a good option for that. So that's what I would tell you. I do not. Way to go, Marcia. Cool beans. Yep, there you go. So manual worked for you on that one. Good deal. So yeah, I've already answered that question. All right. So how do you convert a PNG file to what are you wanting to convert? A JPEG or a PNG? Okay. You can't convert it to an SVG in Canvas Workspace. I misread your question. I thought you wanted to convert it to an FCM file. You cannot convert to an SVG in Canvas Workspace. It saves in our proprietary format, and that is FCM. So you would have to take it through another program to then convert it into an SVG. Do you have BES4? That would be my next question. And if so, then we'll take a look at that in a minute. Let me go back to on track to what I wanted, the other thing I wanted to do today for you guys. That was how to do, and this came up today because I had a question. You do have BES4, Tracy? If you do, then I can walk you through that. I had a question today, and y'all are not going to believe this. It's from my aunt. So, you know, you gotta love it when you have when your aunt is calling to ask questions, and she wanted to do a double shadow applique. Well, she had purchased one, but she wanted to cut it with her Scan-A-Cut machine, and it wasn't going to work out well. So she had purchased individual letters, and she had put them together, and she was making herself something. And so I'm like, you know, we can probably do this easier. We're going to be able to do this in PE-DESIGN 11. We're going to do it in BES4, and we can do it in Simply Applique. Now, I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between Simply Applique and BES4. Simply Applique is simply one module out of BES4. So it doesn't have near the capabilities that BES4 does, but it does have some very nice functions if you're looking for a program to enter into that. Who did I tick off today? I got 3 angries. Oh, Diane, what did I make you angry with? Or did you just hit the wrong button? All right, guys. Let's go over to PE-DESIGN first, and I'm going to select a hoop. We're just going to select something large this time. I'll go with an in between, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees so that it's a little bit bigger. Okay. And let's use the same text that I was just using a minute ago. Let's do USA. And I don't care how big this is. I don't care what stitch it is. It does not matter to me at this point. But I am going to make it really, really large. And I'm going to space it apart because we're going to turn these into appliques. And in order to do what I want to do, we need to space them apart. So I'm going to space them apart about 3 millimeters. Maybe a little bit more than that. Let's go 5. I'm going to do one more. Let's do 8. And I'm eyeballing this, guys. There is no rhyme or reason to this. I just know that I want to be able to put a shadow around the outside of the letters, so I'm making them bigger. All right, so we're going to touch the Applique button. Applique wizard, and I want a zigzag stitch as my tack down stitch. I want it to create an applique with hole sewing. And why do I want it to do that? Because I have the letter A in the middle here, and it has a closed shape inside it. If I do not do that, the center of that A will not be created. Okay. So you can choose what width you want this at. I'm going to change my width to about 5. And I'm going to change my density down. I don't think we've played with density quite enough with you guys yet. So if you want a really light zigzag, you can do like between 1.5 millimeters and 1.2 lines per millimeter. And you'll notice that you get a lighter zigzag stitch than you normally would. Okay. Now, I want a shadow around the outside edge of this. So I want these each to create their own another applique. So I'm going to ungroup first of all. And then I'm going to grab the first letter of each design. So I'm going to grab my U and my S and the outside of my A. And I'm going to go to my select patterns icon here, go to my home tab, and I'm going to go to my applique wizard. And we're going to say add instead of replace this time. You choose how far away you want it from your original pattern. So I'm going to say I want it 4 millimeters away. We'll see if we like it. If we don't, we'll just do undo. And click OK. And there you go. So now I have that shadow of an applique around the outer edge without having to create an offset or any of those other activities. Now, one of the things that I probably would have done if I had been thinking is you'll notice that I had a tack down stitch. So if I go back and just undid everything, I'm going to take off that tack down stitch. leave those at the default, and we're going to go replace this time, create an applique with whole sewing, and click OK. So there's my first section, and you'll notice it's a nice light zigzag. And if I go to stitch view, you'll see that even better. So it's not a heavy stitch, and it really is a nice little stitch. So now we want to ungroup it and pick those first letters. Go to the Home tab, Applique Wizard, and this time we are adding, I'm leaving it at 4 millimeters. I've got that tacked down on no. Click OK, because I'm going to cut these with my cutting machine. And that's ready to go. That design is set up, ready to go, no worries. Okay. So that is what I would tell you. There's quite a bit there. That's a really powerful part of your program. And that little activity that we just did is super simple to do. It allows you to actually have 2 layers of an applique, and it's quite pretty. So I love the lighter zigzag, Joanne. I think it really is sweet. Okay, so let's go do this in BES4. I am going to set up a hoop. We're not going to use our big old jumbo frame. We're going to use this one right here. 7 by 11. Oops, I wanted to rotate that. Rotate 90 degrees. There we go. So now we have an idea of where we want things to be. I'm going to grab my text tool and type in my text. What did I do? USA. And left click away from it. Now let me select that text and let's make it honking big. We're not going to worry about the stitch thing. Oh, I've got Bambino selected. We know that's not going to work. Let's pick something that is, let me do a true type font. Let me go back to that athletic font. There we go. And once we're going to ignore that error message, you can change it if you want, but I'm truly just going to I am going to change it because it's going to drive me nuts. We're just going to make it a different stitch because it doesn't matter. We're going to do something else with it here in a minute. Okay. Now, my spacing, once again, I want to make it more space in between them. So let's go with 5 millimeters and click apply. Oops, that's too much. So let's go down to 3. Okay, this is going to be outside of my hoop, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. All right, so now we're going to go to our Tools tab, and we are going to say, why are you not letting me do what I want to do? Tools. Huh. Interesting. I did this earlier. All right, let's change this from style from column to, I'm in athletic. Oh, I'm in BESBlue. Duh. All right, hold on. Like, wait a minute. BESBlue, we would have to operate differently because it does not have artwork mode. So hold on. For those of you that do not have BES Power Pack 1, you'll have to do it. I've got another method around this. The method that we would use for BESBlue and BES4. I mean, BESBlue and Simply Applique. So let me come back in here and grab this again. Athletic. It does help if you pick the correct program. All right, so BES has, if you have Power Pack 2, you have the style of artwork. So if you choose artwork mode and apply, now this is just simply a piece of artwork. Now my spacing, what did we end up with? 3. And let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay. So go to your Tools tab, and then you can convert it to Applique. So there's the first one. It's done. How do I get the second one? Well, that one's actually pretty simple as well. Go to your Arrange tab, grab the Offset tool, and choose Create Offset because this is Power Pack 2. And it gives you that outer edge only and outer and inside. We're going to leave the original as is. I've got the spacing set at 5 millimeters. I only want one outline added. We're going to click OK, and you'll notice that it has added me an outline around the outside of each one. Now, this one is not, they're not overlapping like we did in PE-Design. So if you wanted them overlapping, you would need to make them bigger. Let me change that color so y'all can see what I've got. So let me undo, and let's make that a little bit bigger. We're going to come grab it and offset, create offset, and let's make these 15. See what happens. Oh, there we go. Now, if I come and grab my letter here, I'm going to take this and this. I need it one more bigger. So we're going to undo one more time. I had it at 15, correct? Offset, and let's say 20. Just to do apples and apples. Okay, so now you see how it's all welded together there. That's what I want. Now you simply go Tools, Convert to Applique, and that one's done as well. We can actually resize this one after it's done. I do not suggest you resize an applique in PE-Design after it's done. It does weird things to it. But to change the style, the density here in BES, it's the opposite direction. So if I want a lighter density, then I need to go up in number as opposed to down in number. So for this one, instead of 0.4 millimeters, I would change it to 1 millimeter and click apply. And you'll notice how much lighter that applique got. You see how that's a much lighter applique than if I go undo. Let me undo it one time for you to see. Here's your heavy. 1 millimeter was what I had selected. You could even do 1.5. And let's see what that's a really nice light zigzag. And if you want, this was my personal preference. If I'm cutting this with my cutting machine, I change my placement offset, which is the line that the scan and cut machine is going to read to cut, to 1. And that bumps that placement offset line out to the outer edge. So you see how that's on that outer edge. And then I send it to my scan and cut. So I hit the scan and cut button, and you'll see I've got 2 sections. Here's 1, and there's 2. Now that what we just did showed me I needed to do one last thing, and that is change the order of sewing. So I would want to change my that one to sew first, because otherwise it would stitch on top of itself. And you wouldn't notice that if I hadn't have done that other little trick there. All right. Yes, that's how you could make a patch as well. Now, what else? Oh, how to make it in BESBlue or Simply Applique. So neither of those have that offset feature. All right. So how can I create that offset feature? Well, we can either start in Canvas Workspace and create the lettering there and convert that to an applique, which is what I'm going to do, or you could create your lettering and convert it to an applique in the programs, but I think you'll get better results if we do it straight from Canvas Workspace. So let's go to Canvas Workspace next. And this is for those who have BESBlue or Simply Applique. So we're here in Canvas Workspace, and I'm going to double tap to bring my screen into the middle, and we're just going to type in USA. Actually, I wanted USA. There we go. We'll use that same athletic font, and it was one that I got from DeFont. Okay, so it's just it's a true type font. Oops, let me go back to my A's. And it's called Athletic. Let's see here. There we go, Athletic. And y'all should be proud of me that I remembered what font I used today. That doesn't happen that often. So here's my athletic font, okay? How do I get a shadow around it? Well, if I go over here to my edit menu and I scroll down and I choose offsets, I don't think it's going to let me do it here, but we'll see. Oh, it did. Wow, sweet. Okay, so let me undo one time. So let's do offset again, and let's do 15. There we go. That's exactly what I want. So now I have 2 layers and I'm ready to go. So let's change our color. So I'm going to go up to my paintbrush just so you all can see that we do have 2 distinct different lines, and that way you'll know that those are there. But it's not really going to matter because when we go to the software, they're both going to be the same color. It doesn't matter. So let's go up to File and Export Transfer FCM File. We're going to export the FCM and we're going to call this USA Offsets. No, I'm going to do offsets 2. All right. So let's start in BESBlue first. We're going to go up to the application button and choose Import FCM File and USA Offsets 2. There we go. We're going to open that up. So you'll notice that I have a plus sign here in my window. Didn't matter that I brought them all in at the same time. We're going to do the USA first. So I'm going to select it in my sequence view, convert it to Applique. Do the same thing down here, convert it to Applique. If you want that light satin stitch, you can do all items this time. Over here where it says density, 1.5. or 1.0, whatever you would prefer. Same thing that I just did, okay? And then you've got your placement offset. I would take that up to 1 and click apply. And that's how easy it is to do it when you have that applique. The same thing should happen in Simply Applique. So we're going to, any questions so far besides what is BESBlue? So Marcia, BESBlue is a lower version of BES4. No power packs can be added, no wireless features, no BES cloud, no power packs can be added. So it's the base level BES4, just came out in this past fall without any upgrade capabilities and no wireless. So those are the biggest differences between it. All right. So let's go to Simply Applique real quick. It should be exact same that what we just did in blue. Let me go to Simply Applique. Go up to your application button. This is the paste setter button. Import FCM. And we're going to go to Offset USA Offsets 2. There we go. Open that up. And if we click the plus sign, we should see both elements as we did before. And you can do it all at one time. So if I select all items and go tools, convert to applique, you can do it all at one time. I just kind of prefer to do it separately. It's just my own personal opinion, my personal preference. It doesn't matter. Then you can change your density. Same way, 1.5, apply. And that placement offset. So if I change my placement offset to 1 and click apply, you'll notice that outline goes to the exterior edge. That will cut perfectly with your scan and cut. If you are not planning on cutting with your scan and cut, then you do not need to do that placement offset, okay? Yes, Sharon, you would do the same way that I just did in BESBlue. If you have base level of BES4, because it will not see that as artwork mode, okay? And that gives you that capability of doing it without a power pack. So, you know, I kind of like to show you all of the different ways you can do it. It is easier if you have it all in one program, but it's certainly doable if you don't, okay? Now, let me go up here and see what we have. So you want to know how to bring a PNG file in, and which power pack do you have? Tracy, do you have power pack 1 or power pack 2? you have Power Pack 2, you can pretty much do it all in BES4, but sometimes Canvas Workspace does a better job converting the artwork. So let's go to Canvas Workspace because everybody has that. Not everybody has Power Pack. All right. If I go up to the File button and actually, let's just do this. The leaf is your image trace button. When you click that, you choose an image from your computer or an image that you've scanned in from your scan and cut machine. So we're going to do an image from the computer. Let me see if I can find something. Y'all are going to make me think hard today for a file. Where do I have something? Let's see. I'm going to do that. All right. So here's my image file. I can go do trace outer edge only, trace areas by color, or enhanced image tracing because I have that upgrade. Trace areas by color is what I just selected. And you'll notice it did not see those shadings. So it's telling me I've got the max number of colors set at 5. So let's increase that. How many colors do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's increase that and preview it. Let's keep going. It may not be able to divide these, but we'll keep trying until 20 seems to be our max number of colors. And I can't get, oops, I evidently double clicked. I could not get it totally done. So these two colors are too close together for it to be able to differentiate from that. So if I wanted those in, I could then at this point draw that in. And this color right here is also too close to the, you can tell which colors are too close of shades for it to have decided that it could differentiate them. And I'm just grabbing that line drawing tool, and when you click and drag, you'll notice it curves automatically for you. Double click at the end, and I'm almost done here. We're going to double click at the end of that one. All right, so now if I go into my layers menu over on the right hand side and I hide my image, you'll notice that I have all of my parts. I don't have that one connected, so let me come and fix that. Let's double tap it and take it to that space right there. There we go. So now you have your SVG, you have your FCM file. We can do File, Export Transfer FCM, and we're going to export the FCM. So we'll call this, what are we going to call this? Facebook Lives Swirl. To make that into an SVG file, you have to have a Power Pack in BES4. So let's do New, File, Import, Import Artwork, and what did I call it? Swirl. Now, File, Export, Export SVG. And that's how it's done. Okay. You should actually, I believe, hold on. I believe you can export an SVG in either of the two programs. I'm looking to see. Y'all can see me figure this out. Let's look. Import FCM. Let's do swirls again. The importing an SVG is the Power Pack. So if I go export, yeah, export SVG is done automatically. So you don't have to have a Power Pack to export the SVG. You have to have a Power Pack if you wanted to convert a PNG file into an SVG. And that is a Power Pack 2. Okay. Let's see here. Marsha, I'm using Canvas Workspace on my desktop. I like to use that one more simply because I can work in layers and be able to play with the different layers. Okay. Boy, my nose is itching. Who's talking about me or who's coming to visit? But I mean, that's that's my personal preference. There are times that I go to the online version. When do I go to the online version? Well, if I need to download a collection that I've purchased, I'll go to the online version because that's the only place I can get them. If I go to actually the Disney ones, that's the only place I can get them. If they're encrypted, so the FCN files, that would be your calligraphy files, your rotary auto blade files, and your Disney files. Those are all encrypted. So I'll go up there to grab those. The other time I use it is if I want to have something converted into a PDF file. I can convert to a PDF file because I have the sticker kit. The other reason that I use it is if I'm too lazy to copy and paste to make one line draw and one line cut, and the online version allows you to assign, it automatically assigns the line as a cut and a draw line. So you choose it on your machine, whereas on the desktop version, you either select cut or draw. So if you wanted something to both be able to draw and cut, for instance, if I'm doing heat transfer vinyl, if I want it to draw and to cut, then I will set it up to draw out. I'll copy and paste. The first one I will have cut. The second one I will have draw. That gives me a better idea of where I'm going to weed that heat transfer vinyl, especially if it's glitter vinyl. So that's really that's when I do that. Okay. Other than that, I like my desktop version better. Now, if you're using a tablet or something, you can't install a desktop version on a tablet. So if you're using like an iOS tablet, then you go to the browser version of it. So it's nice that we have those different options available to us. So if you aren't somebody that sits at a computer, you can go do it online. I personally spend more time at my computer than I do on a tablet. So I tend to do the desktop version because it's personally, I find it easier to use and it's more powerful. True type fonts are done much better on the desktop version because you can use any font installed on your computer. Whereas if you use the online version, you have to use the true type font converter, which seems kind of silly because then you're back on your computer. Okay. So those are the different ones. Oh, you're going to love your Power Pack 2 and 3. I truly, Power Pack 1 and 2 are my two favorites. So, all right, guys, any other questions today? No? I'm giving you a few minutes here to think and see, is there anything I forgot that I said I was going to do today? Let me go look and see if there's anything I forgot that we did. Nope, that's all I said I was going to do today. Just checking, make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, so you're so funny, Tracy. All right. Yeah, can I have both? Yes, Vera, you can certainly use basically when you sign up for one, you have the other. Your login for the web version is the same as your login for your desktop version. So you can pick either one you want to work with. My personal preference, though, as I said, is usually when you see me doing it, I am on the desktop version, just simply because the layers thing is what's really important to me. So let me explain what I mean by that. Over here, this right here is your layers key. So this shows me every cut piece that's going to happen, and I can toggle my image on and off. I can turn items off on the screen and work with just one part of it. That, to me, that's huge. So, and if there's something, let's say I want to send these items only to my scan and cut machine. Anything that's hidden, anything that I turn the eyeball off on, when I go to export or transfer it, it's telling me that anything that's hidden is not going to be able to export. So when I say that and I transfer it, only the items in my mat that are turned on are going to be able to be sent. So if I'm layering items or if I'm trying to cut this different parts out of different colors, I'll hide the colors that I'm not cutting at that time. So that's a big difference between the two versions. You cannot hide them on the web version. Okay. So let's see here. Sherry, that's too funny. I'm glad it got there. Maureen, I do not have a PE-Design 11 book. The 10 book is what I'm selling. I am hoping to at some point get a supplement written for you guys to be able to purchase for 11. But the basic features are the exact same. The only thing they don't cover, the only thing that book doesn't cover are the brand new features. And I've done a lot of videos on the brand new features. Okay. Yes, be sure you use the same username. That for sure. You don't want to have two different accounts. You want to have the same username. And I'm going to tell you, if you have AT&T.net, get you a Gmail account, because AT&T for some reason blocks you from being able to confirm your registration. So get you a Gmail account or an AOL or something like that to be able to get in there and get logged into Canvas Workspace. Otherwise, it's a mess. It is not fun. So let's see here. Do I see a P11 upgrade with new features in it? You know, can't tell you that. But who knows? I'm always requesting new stuff. Okay. But what I can tell you is usually when a brand new series machine comes out is when we generally come out with a brand new piece of software. When Brother normally comes out with a brand new piece of software. So for instance, when we went from the Dream Machine to the Luminaire, we got version 11. When we went from the Quattro to the Dream, we went from version 8 to version 9, which was next. Okay. So each time a brand new top of the line series, not like Dream 1, Dream 2, Dream 3, but when you go from the Dream to the Luminaire, to support those new features built into that machine, usually you get a brand new version. Okay. That's which is an upgradable. It's an upgrade usually for all of us. So that's the deal. Now, what I will tell you is that if you have Next, you'd better get to 10 at some point soon. If you can't find a 10 upgrade, you are out of luck to upgrade. When we change dongle styles, so when we went from that USB big box to the little dongle, that's when you needed to change, when you needed to go, because when at that point, and I've said that all along, every time we change a dongle, they give you one version for sure that you can change to. After that, all bets are off. You never know. So this time around, when they went from the big USB thing to the little dongle, we got one version to upgrade to. So you had to go from version 9 to version 10, and then you can upgrade to 11. So that's one of those things that I'll tell you. Whenever you see a dongle change for us, then that's when you need to purchase. Okay. Why do I get a double outline when you scan a line drawing on your scan and cut? So basically it's the thinning process. And let me see, Caroline, I know that I've addressed that in the scan and cut playbook. It's the thinness of the outline. And let me see if I can figure out what page that is for you. Let's see here. Scan to cut data. Where is that? Are you doing color images or black and white, just out of curiosity? If your lines are thicker, they tend to read thicker. What I will do is usually I will start looking at around page 147, look at color recognition and grayscale recognition. Okay. So if your lines are really thick, what you can do is there's a little grayscale or a color scale slider bar. When you change that, it changes how much it's detecting. Okay. So that's what I'll tell you. All right. And if you have more problems, send me the exact image that you're using, and I'll try to give you a little bit of info on that. You could always scan it into Canvas Workspace and then finesse it if you want to as well. Oh, black and white coloring book pages, those are really thick outlines. So yeah, it's looking, you want to choose outline detection only for that and get one section and then grab the intersections because it's looking at both sides of that line. Okay. Now there's times that I want it to do that, but that's why. It's if it's a really fat outline and there's a couple of icons on your machine. Let me see if I can find an image on my computer here real quick. Oh, I don't have it on this computer. In the scan mode, though, you have an icon that is the circle and the square that are just one outline, and then you have a circle and a square that have a double outline. The double outline is region detect. The single outline is outline detection. You want to go outline detection. If you're in grayscale mode, you actually get 3 options, and I believe it's the second one that you would want to choose, okay? But that's the difference. Patty, that's a good question. I stay so busy I can't find time to write right now. And I'm such a perfectionist that I really just need to release a little bit at a time because I'm such a perfectionist. There are 2 things that are stopping me have got me stumped. And that is what is blocking me, giving me this mental block as to you can't finish this. And those are, you all keep asking me the question on how to create a repeating pattern without jump stitches in the programmable stitch creator doing a decorative fill. I can't make it happen. And I can't get an answer. So that is one of my stumping spots. The other one is the perfection on the big stitches when it comes to the Stitch Design Factory. So I am one of those people that wants to know the nuances as why this one works and this one doesn't. And so that I can explain to you why this one does and this one doesn't. And I haven't figured that out. So those are my 2 stumping spots. Everything else I have figured out and I can, that's almost written. But those 2 little items there, unless I just go basics with you, then I don't have that next step. So that's where my stumbling block is. That's where I'm stuck. So as soon as I get that figured out, I'll write it. But I mean, and that's what I do in my spare time. I'm sitting there trying to figure out, how do I make that connecting decorative fill? Why is that not doing? I've drawn it all as one line. Why is it not connecting? Why is it jumping when it goes over there? So that's just kind of my problem. That's my issue there. And I know, Joanne, but it's a supplement. I'm trying to get it out. And y'all know I'm known for the details. So that's really where my problem is. And once I get that, what I've tried to do is show you as much through these Facebook Lives to support the new features as I possibly can. So I do a whole lot of Facebook Lives with the new features so you guys can see it. You'll see a lot on decorative fills. You'll see a lot on, you'll go back and you'll see the thread color changes. You'll see the applique wizard. The applique wizard hugely changed. So you've seen me do that a ton of times. That's really, but that's where my stumbling block is. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm stuck. Let's see here. So, there you go. I mean, it may just be that I just write the basics and be done with it. But truly, that's one of those things that I'm trying my best to figure out. So thanks, Joanne. And I do try to provide as much as I possibly can to you guys. So anyhow, but you have to understand, I am a perfectionist and I recognize that in myself. And it's a stumbling block many, many, many times. The programmable stitch creator is in the workbook already. And it's the features are the exact same in version 10 as they are in version 11. Okay. And thanks, Tana. And is there another one you set up here? There's another Tana? I'm looking. I don't see her. I just see you. Oh, well, but there's two. Cool. How do you get the advanced tracing, the enhanced image tracing? That was an upgrade kit, and there are two different versions of it. And I think the only difference between the two different versions is the number of patterns that come with it. You may be able to find that at your dealer. If not, look at the big box online stores. Okay, that would be where I would say. I'll be honest, I don't use it that much. I tend to trace it myself. If I'm gonna have to spend that much time, I'll just trace it myself. I find it faster. Um, yes, there is a reason I use the zigzag tack down stitch, Marcia. The reason I do is because it gives it a nice finish before the actual covering stitch goes over the top of it. So if I'm not doing that really light zigzag that I did for my finishing stitch earlier, then I usually use the zigzag tack down stitch. I like it better. It doesn't peek out as much as some of the others do. And I think it provides, so let's say you've got a little frayed edges on your stuff. It tacks those frayed edges down. So that's why I personally enjoy doing that. And yes, all or nothing. I'm kind of there, all or nothing. Well, there you go. There's always an update waiting. So that's true. All right, guys, if there are no other questions, I am going to say goodbye for today. Please start sending in your questions like today so that I don't cram on Tuesday of next week, because I'm actually going to get to see, oh, y'all, I'm going to share a little thing as of getting older. This is really, this is killing me. So I can understand being a grandma. That's great. Being a grandma. I don't have children. Y'all understand that. But I have some beautiful nieces. But why is it that when you become an aunt, you're not a grand aunt, you're a what is it? Great aunt. I'm not her aunt anymore. I'm a great aunt. I now have a great nephew, a great nephew. So I'm so excited to go. I get to go see him this weekend though. So he's new to our family, but like I said, for some reason the great aunt thing is not as nice as a grandma. I don't know why the name bothers me, but it does. Makes me feel older than a grandma, I guess. All right, guys, y'all have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next Tuesday. Yours call you Granty. That's a good one. I like that one. So, all right, guys, you all have a great time, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.